played, and Minnesota won 141-125 over Memphis. And now you have Golden State, Memphis, and Minnesota all tied at 47-33. That is their record going into this weekend. And it is going to be a wild weekend because the West, really from 3 through 10 is unbelievable in terms of how we're looking at this and where these teams end up. And these are significant players from LeBron to Luka to Steph to Jokic, to Ant-Man, to Ja, who we'll get to with his ridiculous celebrations and comments on them. But as we sit here right now, do we take the Wolves as a serious contender in the West when you're looking at the T-Wolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, and Grizzlies, all these teams? Are the T-Wolves the one you would look at and say the best of that bunch?
Hell yeah, because they got Ant Edwards, who on any given night could be the best player on the court. Now, I'm not saying he's the best player in the Western Conference playoff field, but on any given night, like he showed us last year in the postseason against Denver, he can be the best player on the court. So you can't dismiss the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I think with all of the other teams in the Western Conference, including Minnesota, it's all going to be matchup dependent. So that's why we have to closely watch how this thing shakes out over the weekend with the final 2 regular season games, right? Because right now, currently, there's a 3-way tie for the 6th spot in the West. Now, the tiebreaker goes to Golden State, then Memphis, then Minnesota. So those teams all have the same record, 6 through 8, and you're talking about Minnesota bringing up the rear. So, but Minnesota, according to ESPN Analytics, has the best chance of the team seeded 4 through 8 to finish with a top 6 spot in the playoffs. It's insane how this Western Conference is going to unfold. Right now, Minnesota has an 88% chance to finish with a top 6 seed. They can finish as high as 4th, but they can end up in the 8th spot, which is where they currently are. So it's going to be wild what happens over the weekend, but a lot of that is going to determine the plausibility of how far Minnesota can go in the Western Conference.
So you trust them more than the other teams in that crop, is what you're saying? Minnesota.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, you don't trust them?
No, I'm not saying I trust them more or less than any of those other teams. I'm saying it depends on how the seeding falls.
Gotcha.
It depends on the different matchups. Like if we're talking about Minnesota having a first-round matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, if we're talking about Minnesota having a first-round matchup against the Los Angeles Clippers, we'll see. Like, I feel like in terms of the matchup, it's a good matchup for them against the Clippers. So it just depends on how things fall and whether I have confidence in them. If Minnesota somehow ends up matched up against the Denver Nuggets, I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. You feel good about Minnesota going against Denver because that's who they always beat.
They have their number, yeah.
Again, it just depends on how it all falls.
Yeah. Are you still high on the Clippers?
Oh, yeah, big time. Big time, because I just look at that and I say of that group, the Timberwolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, Grizzlies. 2 of those have a really interesting dynamic here because when you're thinking about the teams that are between, let's say the Lakers get the 3 seed, Rockets are in the 2, and Thunder in the 1. Let's just put the Lakers in the 3 seed for a second. So how often do you have a 4 through 10 in any conference, in any sport, where on any given day, the team within 4 through 10 could have the best player and best coach in a series or in a playoff game? And you have 2 teams there that could have that. Because you could say, well, I'll take Steph Curry over anyone, and I'll take Steve Kerr over anyone. I mean, that's not a bold statement I just made. You could easily say, I'll take, when healthy, I know that's a big when, or if. Kawhi Leonard over anyone, and I'll take Ty Lue over anyone. Mm-hmm. You can't say, think about the Eastern Conference. You can't say that with 4 through 8.
No.
You could say, I'll take Giannis over anyone. You're not taking Doc Rivers over anyone right now.
No,
you could say
they're playing their tails off.
Yes, they are.
Milwaukee is balling right now.
You could say, oh, I'll take Spoelstra over anyone. Sure, but they don't have a player you'll take over anyone. No. Denver Nuggets. Up until a week ago, maybe you could say that. Yeah. You can't say I'll take David Adelman over anyone. We don't even know anything about him other than his last name and his pedigree. But the reality is, this is so unique and dynamic because, as CeCe mentioned, the Western Conference is wild because you could have the best player and the best coach in a series off of 2 play-in teams.
Yeah. Which is why I have the Warriors still circled for me as the team.
Probably because of that reason.
But not only that, you had playoff Jimmy on top of that. The cherry on the top to Steph and Steve Kerr. So I still, when I look at that crop, there's so many teams that you can make a case for that could be dangerous and go on a run. But to me, they're just sitting right there. They have that DNA. They know how to do it. Warriors, yeah. They're the team to me that I'm really keeping an eye on.
Yeah, the only team of this group that I'm kind of writing off, when this group, meaning the Timberwolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, Grizzlies, that's the order. Memphis. That's the order per ESPN Analytics, as CeCe mentioned, of the chances to finish in the top 6, meaning avoid the play-in. But Memphis had a moment last night that I don't understand it. So Ja Morant gets fined for the machine gun celebration. He now has come up with this counter to that, which is a grenade celebration. And he had this quote last night. He said, "That's my celebration now until somebody else has a problem with it, and I'll find another one." I mean, I'm not equating the two, but it's like, all right, I'm going to keep robbing this bank until they catch me. I mean, what are we doing here? This doesn't throw you guys off at all? Like, this is just so immature on so many levels from a young man that is so phenomenal at basketball, that has so much in front of him, and he literally is doing something he knows somebody's going to have a problem with. He knows it's going to be an issue. He knows it's going to take away from his brilliance on the basketball court until someone has a problem with it. David Stern, may he rest in peace, if he was still the commissioner of the NBA, would have suspended this man over and over and over again until he stopped doing this. And I think you can say what you want about David Stern. I think it would have been for his own good. I think this is getting ridiculous.
But what? Because he's been suspended now twice, and it doesn't seem to have landed with him.
So
plus he was injured.
Yeah.
The shoulder thing, he missed a lot of time with that. So
this doesn't rub you the wrong way as an ex-athlete who handled himself beautifully during the course of your career?
Oh, it does, but he's proven that he's committed to being a clown. And when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I mean, shout out to the TNT guys, Charles Barkley, Kenny, and Shaq, because Chuck said when Ja did the celebration last night, he pulled the pin, threw the grenade, and blew up the Memphis Grizzlies season. That's what it feels like. I don't take the Memphis Grizzlies serious as a team that can contend in the playoffs, and we should, because of the pieces that they have, because of how good they've been throughout the years, the program that Taylor Jenkins has built. I mean, you got Jaren Jackson Jr. as a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, an outstanding young talent in the front court. You got Desmond Bane, who's a proven 20-point-a-night scorer. And then you have Ja Morant, who is one of the most electric backcourt players in the entire league. You have all of the elements to be a good team, but you're not a good team. And it's in part because your best player has a maturity issue. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, you're asking me if it rubs me the wrong way. Yes, it does. But I'm not going to keep saying it because it's not going to make a difference. It doesn't matter. Everybody that's tried to get through to Ja to curb the behavior that we've seen on and off the court hasn't been able to do it. So at this point, if he don't care, I don't care.
Very fair.
I feel the same way. It does rub me the wrong way, but what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? He's shown us that he doesn't care. He said, "I'm the villain." He has completely missed the mark on how his actions are being perceived by the world, and he's internalized that and said, "Everyone's against me. I'm the villain. I'm going to lean into that."
He's not a villain. He's a clown.
He's not the villain.
He's a clown.
He's not the villain.
He thinks everybody is laughing with him. Everybody is laughing at him. He's a clown.
But I think it's more of a sad clown because I feel sad for him.
Sads are inherently clown. Clowns are inherently sad.
Sads are inherently.
I think one of those works. I'm not sure which
I think
one.
they both work. I think we got what you meant.
Sads are inherently clown.
Two members of this show coming up were annihilated for suggesting a team without a quarterback should go get a quarterback. But first, Small says this from Capital One.
That's right, Evan, because Unsportsmanlike is brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn nha. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn cái kênh của mình